What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Program is back. 2024, new year, same us, same crew. Come on, ain't nothing new here. We got a Star Destroyer behind me. Michael made that for me for Christmas. Miracles do happen. That's amazing. All right, we got the whole gang here. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to go left to right, wave at the camera, say hello, Andy Mason.
Hello.
Hey, Taylor B.
Howdy.
And Michael, welcome.
Hello there.
All righties, let's dive into this, man. I put it in the description. Basically, what had happened was we were in a lull, right? There's not much Star Wars content. There's the holidays, and things get away from you. You're just kind of hanging out, you're doing other things. Life happens. Work has you traveling all around the dang country. And one of my favorite YouTubers drops a video. Drew Gooden dropped a video that said. He's on Star Wars. Like, do we need more Star Wars? I've linked it in the description. It was like half an hour, and there's a little bit of jokes, and I think there were some salient points in there. And it kind of called me out on some things. Like, I spend so much time defending this stuff from what I feel are unfair critiques. I think there's so much of a toxic fandom out there. I think there's a lot of people that have frustrations with Star Wars, but it's mostly couched in, I don't know, problematic undertones. And so I find myself really having struggles with that. But I think that Mr. Gooden raised some fair points. And so what I wanted to do this episode, I made all my friends watch it because I'm just that guy. And so we're all going to discuss the state of Star Wars. Do we think we need more? What do we want more Star Wars to look like, assuming we get it, which we will, of course, because Disney and money. And then that's the dovetail into what are we most excited for in 2024. So I'm going to go around the table here. Let's talk about the video first. Basically, Drew said, broad strokes, he was like, Star Wars is really losing its luster. It's very, it doesn't do much. It's like very member berries type deal, right? You remember this, you look at that, there's not a whole lot of meat on that bone. And that's the first half of the video is him dunking on Star Wars is what it feels like. And then there's the twist, which is, hey, actually Andor was really freaking solid. And it, kind of recalibrated and it reminded us what this stuff should be. So I just want to go around the room here and see what everybody thought of the video, first of all. And then what do you think the state of Star Wars is, and what do we need more of or less of, or is everything working perfectly as it is right now? And I'll start with Andy. I know you love that.
Okay, well, just off the top of my head, I really liked the video. I'm not on YouTube much anymore. I didn't particularly want to watch the 30-minute Star Wars YouTube video, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. It's kind of the sense of humor that I often enjoy on the internets. And I really agreed with a lot of his points. A lot of his critiques I thought were solid. And I didn't finish the Obi-Wan show either. I wanted to. I didn't. Let's just drop all these bombs on you guys right now, and then we'll pick up the pieces after. But yeah, I thought there were some solid points and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Whoa.
What y'all got for me? Bring it in.
No, I mean, but honestly, there's a part of me that wants to say you're missing out on some really good stuff in Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And that's what I think he says in the video as well. But to his point, there's a lot of stuff you don't need to see. Like, there's a lot of mid in that show. I really enjoyed it. But I think that was the point, was it showed me that there's a lot of stuff. Like, I'm happy to see Thrawn. I'm happy to see all these things, but it's not like the show itself was very good, for lack of a better word. Like, it was just, it really kind of
And
called
I
a lot of that into question because I have all this stuff, all this baggage of Thrawn, and if I take that away, what we actually saw, it scares me. It's like, what are we gonna get? Are we gonna get him actually showing off and doing things, or are we gonna just,
and
is it just gonna be
yeah.
like, hey, read books, listen to Ed?
Yeah, I really liked his point that we're just kind of trusting the characters telling us that Thrawn is a really big bad guy and this really bad if he gets off this planet. And Michael brought this up in a previous episode that Thrawn depicted in Rebels was kind of mid in his opinion. Like it didn't intimidate him much, didn't see much going for that character. But I know the books are really good. I haven't read them, but I know that they're exciting and I know that that character is has depth, but as an average viewer or even a more interested in Star Wars viewer, I haven't seen it. So, yeah, I am putting a lot of trust in what the characters say at face value in the Ahsoka show. And I enjoyed the Ahsoka show. There are lots of things I liked about it. But in the same vein, it wasn't one of the best shows I've ever seen. That doesn't mean it's bad, but I
Yeah.
think he had some solid critiques.
So Taylor, I want to bring you in now. You're the Legends expert and the one who's been probably the most I don't even know. Like you're not the biggest fan of the Disney stuff. I think that's fair to say, right? You've
That's
been the
very fair
most
to say.
out on a lot of that stuff. So what did you think of this discussion, and then to the extent you want to discuss it, the video itself?
Yeah. So I feel like I made this comparison earlier. Watching that video felt a little bit like watching the news. Like he had some valid points. A lot of it I immediately dismissed. And it was very sensationalized, which I think is just something we encounter in our world today, right? Every article, every video, pretty much everything is sensationalized. That being said, fatigue is a real thing. Like we're seeing Marvel deal with that right now. You can get so much of something that you get just disinterested. And I think I was trying to think through why this is, or at least in my opinion. And I wonder if some of it has to do with not taking risks. I feel like a lot of what Disney has done, and I feel like in the video we watched, this point was brought out, was they are taking the same story, um, essentially the same story that has worked in the past, and just trying to recreate it in a slightly different form in a lot of the shows that they're bringing out, and even in the sequel trilogy movies. And I was curious why, sort of what's missing. And I think it's risk. And I think that that is what a lot of people are afraid to take nowadays, right? Because money is pretty much what it's all about. And that was the thing with Andor, which was it felt like they took a risk, right? They brought in a director who um, hadn't worked on a Star Wars project. I don't know how familiar he was with Star Wars, but he just made a good show. And I think that was obviously very, very successful. And at least in my opinion, one of the best things that has come out of Disney.
Absolutely.
And I also think, I was trying to think, as you mentioned, right? I'm big into Legends. And how is it that there are all these books in the Legends universe? And at least for me, right, I have read pretty much all of them. And I never lost my interest, even though there were so many. And I think one thing that was interesting in that, which I don't know if they can do with the shows, is that in the books, you had to keep moving the story forward. And you couldn't tell the same story over and over and over, or people would have noticed and again, at some point, lost interest. So I feel like I don't know. I just feel like they need to take a little more risk. And I feel like in the shows, right, there's a lot of territory they can explore that hasn't been explored, at least on screen. And because, right, I think we've pretty much seen the Skywalker saga come to an end. I know later we're going to talk about some of the upcoming projects, um,
Mhm.
including the movie with Rey. So I'm not sure if they will incorporate any of that. But essentially, the Skywalker saga has come to an end. So they can't really explore that story anymore and move that story forward. But I think they need to come up with new stories to tell, and not just lean on the old ones and the old formulas that have worked. But yeah, that was my opinion.
Yeah, and it's it's very, very true that we're getting the same thing over and over, and everybody seems to run into everybody else. And, so one of the things I did over the holidays was I played KOTOR 2. I dove back in. I played it with the restored content mod. I hadn't done that yet. And I mean, I was just amazed, diving back into that world, reminding myself just how rich all that lore is and all the different characters and all the different stuff. And I know for book club, we're going to read Bane next. That's going to be super fun. I think there's just so much meat on the bone that they're ignoring, spending all this time in the 3 years in between episode 4 and 5. It's just nuts. But hey, we've been talking for about 5 or 6 minutes now. Michael, why don't I bring you in on this conversation? Again, the same question, broad strokes to the video. What'd you think? But then let's mostly dive into the mostly. I'm a host, guys. I can talk. Let's dive into the meat of the discussion, which is how do you see the state of Star Wars right now? What do we need?
That's good. We already talked about this. I was really not happy with the video at first. I agree with Taylor. It felt very much like a sensational sort of news broadcast. It wasn't telling me anything that we hadn't already discussed amongst ourselves, if not directly on this program, criticisms and things, but it was presenting them in a way that I found immediately off-putting. It put me on defense of the things that I already knew were not even really defensible, but I wanted to defend them because of the way he was attacking them. And part of it was just because of the format of his video. He starts off by saying Star Wars doesn't do this, this, and this. They only do this, this, and this, knowing full well at the latter half of the video, he's going to talk about where they do. But he didn't say that from the beginning. He's just said broad strokes. Star Wars never has new official characters. They only keep reusing these same 4 characters. And I'm like, well, except for Rogue One, except for Andor, except for even Ahsoka. Anyway, so I immediately I'm on the defense there. But he got around to it, and especially when he started talking about Andor, I agreed with everything that he said about Andor and how great Andor is. And I didn't necessarily disagree with the criticisms he had with the other shows. We all know that they're far from perfect. I think he was a little bit harsh, but I didn't necessarily disagree. It's just the video for some reason was very off-putting to me. Where Andy says that it's kind of her vibe for that kind of video. This is very much the opposite of the kind of video I was going to watch. Not my thing. But for Star Wars as a whole, your discussion and his discussion got me thinking a little bit. I don't know, as much as I am quick to jump on the Disney hate bandwagon, and I obviously can criticize things till the cows come home, I don't know if Disney can win. I don't know, because I think we have seen them take leaps outside, and not just Disney but others before Disney took over. But we've seen content that was Star Wars that was too far outside. He had that sort of metaphor where he talked about the original trilogy as sort of the center of the universe and everything's orbiting around it. We've talked about that before, and I kind of mentioned there is an aspect of that, but everything that kind of gets a little bit further from there also stretches sort of the epicenter of what we think of as Star Wars. I think if they push that too far, too fast, people are going to have the same criticism. They're going to be like, well, this isn't even Star Wars. In fact, I think people had complained about that with Andor. As much as we like that, they're like, nothing about this is Star Wars. It doesn't even matter that it's Star Wars. Yeah, it's a good show if you give it the time, if you're okay with the pacing, if you're okay with the lack of dialogue at times. If you're okay with all that, but if you're there for Star Wars, if you're the average casual viewer of Star Wars, you have been more or less, for better or worse, trained to come to expect, hey, where's my frame of reference? Where's my anchor point to this universe is this person that I know? Where's that cameo I've come to love? That's what I'm here for. And I'm not saying that's exactly what you hear, because you definitely hear more people complaining about that. But I think of Mando had a similar effect at first. Mando season 1 felt sort of unanchored from Star Wars. The music was off, and I definitely criticized it for that. Even though it was happening in Star Wars, it didn't feel like Star Wars, and yet the longer it went on, the more now Star Wars feels like Mando. It's not the other way around. It has become part of the thing that we like about Star Wars. So I don't know if they can win. I think it's just going to take there's no content out there. There's no I think of Star Trek as a good analog. There's no fandom out there where content isn't released at some point that people don't like, that goes too far. You get too much of it. People don't like it. It sounds to me like the solution we're proposing is do completely off the wall things that aren't like Star Wars already, and don't do them as often as we're getting them, which I don't think we actually want. I don't think that we're complaining necessarily about the quantity, even though that is something that people complain about is, oh, we're getting fatigue. Well, it's not fatigue from the content in general necessarily. It's the type of content, but we don't want them to go back on that. And we also would complain if everything was too dissimilar from what we already had. So I don't know. I don't know that we would complain, but I think
Yeah.
I think the masses would complain no matter what they did. Not to gatekeep in any way. I just think that most people don't care as much as we do. And, that was another feeling I had at a certain point was, when did we start taking Star Wars so seriously? Like, I know we have, but as a whole, like, I feel like this is a standard that he's trying to hold Star Wars to. He wants something out of Star Wars I don't think Star Wars ever was. It's only recently that Star Wars is trying to dip its toe into this massive content. It was 6 movies for most of our lives. Like, that was it. Yeah, there were books, but the vast majority of consumers didn't know or care, sorry, Taylor, about those books. They really didn't. They weren't even really considered canon. Expanded universe was sort of this thing that some people thought was canon, some people didn't. And, it's a whole different
Yeah.
continuum. Sorry.
Yeah. I love he singles you out like like I'm right
Well,
there
I
with
also
you,
know
Taylor.
Star Wars
I'm a
wasn't
fan.
part of your sort of life for the same amount of time, so it's a little bit different. But obviously, you've consumed far more of that content than I have.
I have, yeah,
I
and it definitely, I think, makes me a little more protective. But I do agree. I think the Star Wars fandom is known to have extreme differences in opinion. So I don't think you're ever going to find one thing that everyone can agree on. And I also feel um, like you said, Disney's trying to walk the line between pleasing Star Wars fans and then also bringing more people into Star Wars. So even the
But think about
casual fans,
Last
and that's a
Jedi.
hard line to walk.
Think about the Last Jedi.
I
You
was gonna
you
bring
want
it
to,
up.
you want to walk into that one because he had some strong criticisms for, I don't want to see grumpy old washed up Obi-Wan, and I was like, oh, I've heard this argument before. It wasn't about Obi-Wan. I don't know. This is interesting, but I don't think anybody can argue that Last Jedi was not a strong divergence from a lot of what makes Star Wars, and that's the most controversial movie we've had, even more potentially than The Rise of Skywalker, despite the fact that Rise of Skywalker should be the most controversial in there.
Dude, all you need to do like I don't gatekeep, but I'm a gatekeep, right? No, I'm just kidding. But my litmus test is like, how do you feel about that movie? Like when you see certain people say that that was their favorite of the sequel trilogy, and then they explain why, and it's because it's just solid fan service, and I just it blows my mind that the people that there's a short list of people that really enjoyed it that should probably I want to say should know better. I'm trying really
Hey,
hard not
they may be under the
to.
age of 10 too. Like, this
Oh,
is this
they're
is the other
not.
thing is, once
Under
again,
the age of
Star Wars
10,
is
you're
for
good, but
kids. So
yep, no. Young
Well,
at
and
heart, perhaps.
the one other quick thought I had was right. Star Wars was always there was all the hubbub around the prequel trilogy and then the sequel trilogy, right? Every generation has their idea of what Star Wars is, and whenever something comes up that's new, a lot of people aren't happy. And
100%.
I don't, I see the irony in that. I feel that way about the sequel trilogy. But even the original Star Wars, there are definitely things you can go back and be like, well, that didn't make sense, and that didn't make sense, and what about this thing from the prior movie? But they even in the original trilogy, and yet those are things it's just part of what we grew up on. So we know those things and we love them and we accept them and we move on. It's just part of Star Wars.
I think that
yeah,
was the point of this discussion for me is like, I'm going to watch every bit of it. I think it's going to take me years to get to the point where Marvel has for me, right? Where I'm tired of it. I don't really care. But that being said, I don't think it's a problem to ask for more, right? As far as quality, not quantity. And that was the thing that I really, he said one thing that stuck out to me was he said like he's tired of seeing familiar characters in different situations, and it was better to see unfamiliar characters in the same world and same situation. And that's kind of what I've been hoping for a while with the Old Republic stuff or different styles of content. That would be really cool to see set in this Star Wars umbrella. that would be very, very exciting to get different takes on things from different points of view, as opposed to like, what's the Jedi doing now? What is Leia doing now? And all this other stuff, which again is getting a little old. It was interesting, Michael. You said the thing, or I'm sorry, Taylor. You said about taking risks. I was thinking immediately what Michael said about the Last Jedi. I was gonna go there, but because that was the thing I liked about it, honestly, was that it did different stuff and it made a decision. So I'm ready to not like the decisions that a movie makes, right? Like Rise of Skywalker, but I'd still rather take that risk and see what happens. That's where I'm at anyway. Um, Andy, now
That's what
that
it
we've all
started out
gone
as.
around, yeah, exactly. There was a lot of it was all brand new, wide open. So we've all said our thing now. Andy, you went first. I'll give you the chance to say any other thoughts you have about this before we move into 24.
Yeah, and I don't really think I even answered the question that you asked. I don't want less of Star Wars. I've been kind of like starving, it feels like, because there was the new shows and things. But I do agree that
You
asking
can always
for
finish Obi-Wan if you're bored.
oh my gosh. No, because like no. I have tried and I have watched the iconic end scene.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just kind of been summarized for me. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, oof. What was I saying?
I'm sorry. You do want more Star Wars. You're starving.
Yeah, but I think quality is good. And the word that comes to mind for me is art. And for it to feel like artistry that someone put, not someone, but many people put lots of effort and love into um, artistry over formulaic. I heard that thrown around too, that it can feel formulaic at times, that this is what works, this is what people like and people want to see. And it will get stale. And I think for a lot of people, it has gotten stale already. But with that being said, there's tons and tons of people who don't feel that way. So it's just kind of this and that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you're exactly right. Now,
I know.
speaking of yeah, bars, facts. Speaking
Yeah.
of 2024, and there is a whole new slate of stuff coming. We had the writer's strike delayed a few things, but we still have a good chunk of stuff coming out. I wanted to go around the room and see what everybody's most excited for. And then if I have the logo, I'll throw it up on the screen. But I'll go the opposite direction this time, and I'll start with you, Michael. What are you most excited for that comes out in 2024?
You have the shot again of all the things that come out in 2024. I can remember. It's not Andor season 2, right? That got pushed to 2025 because
That's
otherwise
the
No,
one
that's
that's
sadly not an
the
option.
yeah, that
yeah,
one
that's
is
unfortunate. That
likely
would have been it.
pushed. Let's see
The
here.
Skeleton
Where's the
Crew
button?
sounds interesting, but I don't know enough about it to be as excited for it. I didn't think Outlaws was coming out until 2025 or 2026, actually. Might have to double check that. But
Nah, it's
Skeleton
this
Crew
year
sounds
unless they moved it.
interesting. Jude Law's cool.
I
Excited
don't
for
need
that.
you to run through the whole slate. I wanted you to pick one.
All right,
Yeah.
pick one. That's it.
All right, he's excited for Skeleton Crew. Tell me about why.
I don't know. The concept sounds cool. I like spaceships, bro. What do you want? You just said zip it. I got nothing else. Sounds
I
cool.
thought-
I like Jude Law.
No, I didn't mean zip it. You were going on to the Acolyte and everything else.
I forgot even what that was. I didn't even remember what else was coming out. So
I wasn't
Bad
trying to tell
Batch
you to shut
Season
up. I was
3.
trying to tell you to stay on one.
I
So
like
my bad.
spaceships.
No, Skeleton Crew is a big question mark right now. Nobody really
Yeah.
knows what it's gonna be about. They know it's set in the Mandoverse, and they said it's very like Stranger Things in space, is what they say. They're trying to make it, with kids, but not for kids, is the way it was pitched, right? So, Yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued, but I don't really have much expectations there. I
Can I
My thing is, I hope that it's a new thing, right? Like, it go somewhere different, like Mandalorian did. Don't just have have the kids show up for 3 episodes and then they stumble across. I don't even know. Like, I don't know who it
so
would be,
can
but
I
yeah, the Ewoks or something.
Disney's writing that down. Write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um can I add to the previous bit, kind of linking these together, what I think that these series need to do? Okay, Andy says no, never mind. Okay, I'll just,
Don't listen to her.
JK, joking, joking. I'm not in
Yeah.
charge.
So I think the thing that made Andor successful, and was probably one of the best parts about it, is a critique I've had of most Star Wars movies, and why Episode 4 is my favorite, why Star Wars is still my favorite to this day. Um, One of the major reasons, and it's because the show stands alone without the need to consume any additional content to appreciate and understand it. And we've talked about the galaxy feeling too small. Um, I Having cameos of other characters or things like that is not a huge problem for me, as long as it's done in a way where you don't have to know. For example, Andor had ISB chief, whose name is escaping, Yularen.
Mhm.
There's nothing added to that series. If you watch that, you're not missing anything if you don't know who Yularen is. But if you do, it's really cool. It's really neat. Moving on, you keep going. There's a
Also
lot of
Mothma.
information about Mon Mothma, right? Yeah, exactly. If you don't know her story, she's still a cool character in that series. And so I think this has been one of the problems. We talked about this with Ahsoka. We talked about this with Obi-Wan and some other things. If you don't watch all the content that's available before and after, or go watch a summary, if you haven't read the books, if you don't know the comics and everything like that, and they're getting worse, that's actually becoming more and more of a problem. These shows don't stand alone, and so they're hard to appreciate in their own right. I don't know that the solution to all this is we need to be off the wall, brand new, weird, different. We need to never go to a place we've ever been to before, never use the same species ever again. I think the shows need to be written more in a vacuum. Use the lore and what exists in Star Wars to your advantage to help world building, but you can't rely on that solely to tell your story. You need to tell your story in your own right. So this has been one of my problems with something like, I'm going to turn it back and
Yeah,
say,
man, it's
like,
cooking.
Episode
That
5.
that
This
was
is one of the only
cooking there.
reasons why Episode 5 was, I could never have that one top my favorite Star Wars chart, because you had to watch Episode 4. And it's silly. It's the second part of a trilogy. They already knew it was going to be a trilogy at that point. But like, you really can't watch that one on its own, whereas you can watch some of the others. Even Episode 1 you can almost watch in a vacuum, but that doesn't make it good on its own. But Andor, right? Andor you can watch without having consumed a single bit of other Star Wars content. You don't even have to have watched Rogue One to appreciate that series on its own. And I think that's a big plus when it comes to this oversaturation problem, because if a show becomes popular in its own right, you don't now have the baggage of having to go and rewatch everything or read an encyclopedia to understand the content. It's
It's
fun, but
true.
it's fan
Yeah.
service. It's just fan service to the people who have already put in the work, and I think it really detracts from how good a show can be. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that all these future shows do that. That was the segue. Skeleton crew and all that.
I think you're exactly right. It's something that I really hope we get more of. I'm not optimistic with the Mandoverse. I think they're kind of going in the exact opposite direction there, very intentionally tying everything together. But yeah, I am hopeful that with shows like Skeleton Crew, maybe that one will be a little divergent, or at least the Acolyte and some of this other stuff will go in completely new directions. Um, Taylor, what about you? What are you most excited for in 2024?
So mine probably is the Acolyte. I again, not a canon person. I have not read any of the High Republic books. I know this is supposed to be set around that time frame. At least that is my understanding.
The end of it,
One, I'm
yeah.
interested, yeah, and one, I'm interested in the way it's described. I think mystery thriller are the words that have been thrown around, so I'm just curious what that looks like. I've heard there will be some Sith appearances, which I'm always very excited to learn more about the Sith, and I'm curious how, or if, I guess, they're going to bring in any of the material from the Old Republic time frame in Legends or in any of those books where you have Bane, you have Revan, you have Darth Malgus, you have a lot of those characters. So I'm curious to see if any of the lore from the Legends books makes it into that show. So yeah, and then hopefully kind of what you guys were just talking about, with how it's nice to have things that you don't have to watch something else to be able to understand it. I am curious, because this is set in the High Republic era, I'm curious if this is going to be a show where, because I haven't read the High Republic books, if I'm still going to be able to enjoy it just as much.
I would imagine you would be if Jedi Fallen Order, no, Jedi Survivor is any indication. They used High Republic iconography and imagery quite extensively, and it was just table setting. It wasn't like a big deal. Maybe you wondered why the Jedi looked a little bit different, but then it's just like, oh, they look different. It's not like a big deal.
I have a confession. I
admit-
just started Fallen Order. I'm so
Oh,
behind.
no worries. I started it late too,
Hey.
and I really loved it, and I didn't finish Survivor.
We're all deserving of having a Star Wars podcast. That's yeah. We're all doing our part, That's what this is all about. No gates here, Shoot. I didn't watch Star Wars Resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
Just
nobody
like
did.
you guys.
You are so brave.
I got like 6 episodes in, but I literally fell asleep every time I turned it on. I could not do it.
Oh, well, Michael at least tried.
I tried.
My man Sebastian in the Discord, he says, I love that show. It was actually really, really good. So,
You saw the
This-
video I put in the chat, but no one watched it.
It was great. It was great. Anyway, okay, yeah, join the Discord, guys, on Program Pod Discord. We'll add you. It's fun. Let's go. Okay. Andy, you're next. What are you most excited for in 2024?
I'm most excited for the Bad Batch. I can't stop thinking about the Bad Batch. I absolutely fell in love with this show and these characters, and I'm Plan 99 Denier #1. That's what it's called, right? Plan 99. Mixelite in the chat said, I'm about to cry now thinking about it, but that might be the vodka. Cool.
King.
I like it. I like the vibes.
King.
Yeah, I'll cry with you. Yeah, super excited.
Tidar. Arnar.
Tidars.
Please no.
Yeah.
Have fun, you two. The bees bringing everybody down over here. You guys are buzzkills. Oh my gosh, I sound like I've had too much vodka. Anyway, yes. Bad Batch, man. Bad Batch is super fun. I am very excited for the Mount Tantus stuff. I'm very intrigued to see what they do with all of that. And Taylor, I saw you kind of jump there. Yeah, same deal. It's like, let's see if we get some Legends connections. Here's the thing I'm starting to realize as I say this. I'm wondering if I sound as if I have a double standard when I'm saying this stuff. Like, I want new things, but then I'm bringing up old stuff. I think the reason why it's different in my head is that it's new to the majority of fans, right? All the sweaties have always been in on this stuff. We've been, way deep down the rabbit hole with if you're naming like Marco Ragnos and Darth Malgus and all of that, like, you're one of a handful of people that, like not the majority of people would know that stuff. And I think giving that to the broader audience it's almost like it's a brand new story to them, even though a few of us know it. I'm happy to retread things like that. It's more just keep going back to the same well that's been on the big screen over and over and over for 40 years. I do think there's a slight distinction there, just so as to know that I see the somewhat contradiction there, but I think there's a slight difference. So I explained myself to the naysayer in my own head.
I think it's cool. I think you're so valid, Ed.
Oh gosh. Yeah, now I feel great. I appreciate you. Okay, so So yeah, Bad Batch is going to be freaking amazing. I'm very excited for that. It's the last season, so we'll see how they wrap it up. That's the other honorable mention I wanted to throw out is Tales of the Jedi. That's that was hugely awesome last year when we got that. Those 6 episodes, involving Ahsoka and Dooku, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon. That was very, very cool. They said they're going to drop more of those this year. We don't know when, but hopefully I'd love to see some new characters. I'd love them to focus on someone that we haven't seen rather exhaustively, like Ahsoka. At this point, I wonder how much more they'd be able to tell. I think there's more fertile ground in other areas, but Tales of the
Disciple?
Jedi. Like do some episodes on Ventress, man. Yeah, absolutely. They could totally do that, and they should. Yeah, absolutely. The thing I'm most excited for, though, honestly, is Outlaws. I'm very, very excited for that game. It is, as we said on the initial review with Andy's Michael, it's a game that's basically designed for me. All right, the type of stuff I like to play, those sort of grindy, open world games. It's story based. It's. I love the Ubisoft games. I know they're not like fine art, but I stay playing Far Cry all the time. I loved when Assassin's Creed went to the MMO route. I thought it was or not MMO. What am I saying? RPG. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I'm very excited for it. Who knows if it'll actually be good? That's the main question. But I find myself very, very excited for Outlaws. And we got the on-program gaming, so shoot, maybe even Wyatt will come back, make his biannual appearance on the show. But yeah, no, that's what I'm most excited for. Anybody else going to be playing that one, or will it be on the 2-year delay like the Survivor and Fallen Order games?
I'll be playing
I
it.
mean, if you finish it at all at this rate.
Honestly.
My
To be
Bradley,
fair,
is this,
oh, go ahead.
is this Bad Batch hate in the YouTube chat?
No, the opposite.
What?
I was talking about
No?
Resistance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're like lazy
Yeah.
animation.
No.
checkers?
Bad
I'm
Batch.
like,
Bad Batch.
like,
Cool. We cool.
And he's like, I'm gonna fight a man.
I'm like,
Kill
and
it.
you're
Just like-
going to the YouTube chat, like, say it with your chest live on camera.
Oh, God.
no,
I'm
I was
trying
just
to
saying I didn't
catch
finish
up
the
to it.
first Jedi game either at first. Although Andy, you were saying the second one you didn't finish. I played the first one and got to whatever that initial planet is, and got so tired of dying to some giant frog thing, like literally a dozen times, and I was like, this lightsaber is made of paper.
That's
can't
why God
double
made
jump.
story
I
mode,
can't
brother.
use any.
Yep.
I can't use any force abilities except for the OP freeze thing, which really doesn't help me kill anything because again, my lightsaber is made out of paper. And I got so bored and was not invested in the story at all. I was like, I'm done. And it took me like 2 or 3 years to get up the will to actually pick it up and finish playing it. And I definitely had a hard time. Like it was a struggle for me to finish that first game.
That's when I take the controller and I hand it to my Michael and I say, fix it, please. And then give it back when it's done. And unfortunately, you are Michael. You don't have a Michael to give the controller.
Yeah,
to.
I am the Michael. Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility.
I hold the video game controller in our house. Sorry.
I don't have a Michael either. Someday my Michael will come. I'm my own Michael, and
for those of us who don't have our own Michael, we have story mode.
Exactly. Thank you.
You have a Wyatt though.
Yeah, well, I watch him play. That's what we're gonna do on the show is a let's play type deal because I like it. I like watching gameplay because a lot of these things I want to see the story. So the caveat to that is the open world games. I like to kind of have the freedom to explore and do those sort of things. So I'm hopeful that this Outlaws game is exactly what I want because Fallen Order and Survivor, I know they're meant to be hard games. I know they're meant to be challenging and require skill. And I'm just I'm not a gamer boy, you know what I mean? Like I watch movies, I read books. I don't really game, especially not if it requires skill and reaction time. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how it goes. What? What's happening?
You really
I
need
missed
to get on the YouTube.
What did I do?
I don't. It may just be timing of the messages.
What did I do?
Someone narrate. I don't know what's going
Mixelite
on.
said "F the frog," and he said, "Let me know if that works."
I'm new at this.
Sorry.
No, it was worth it. That was worth it. Thank
I
you.
don't have that. I don't see that message.
Yeah, I think you hit up the wrong chat. Maybe I don't know. We got the Discord chat running, and then the YouTube chat. Man said "F that frog," talking about the Ooga Booga or whatever it was from Fallen Order. Let me know. I'm new to this. That's awesome.
Did the link send? Did you send the link?
I see Andy's chat. I don't see the other one.
Is my link?
Oh my gosh. All right, we're way off the rails here. But yeah, thank you, Michael, for the endorsement that I am able to use story mode because I am journeying through this life without my own Michael. So thank you. I will say, as far as a Michael-less boy can go, I do have someone airdropping in chimeras. So thank you. Thank you for being my honorary Michael. I appreciate you. It was a lovely Christmas. I'm still not over it. That is a really, really cool thing. Anyway, 2024, man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I don't really think there's too much else here. Any final thoughts anyone has, and then we'll get hyped for the freaking book club, man. Book club's the next thing on the docket, and we'll be back someday to talk about some other stuff. This is a professional outlet here, that's what we do. Top tier.
What's
Top
the
tier.
what's the very next thing coming out? It's Bad Batch, right?
They haven't really done many dates. The next thing coming out is Skeleton Crew, from what I understand, with the
Really? I thought
caveat
it was-
that animated shows tend to just come out, right? Like, because it's done, it's finished. They've delayed it a couple of times now, so they can put it out whenever. Same with Tales of the Jedi. So I imagine they're gonna lay out what the live action shows are gonna do, and then they'll kind of intersperse it. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the animated shows comes out on May 4th. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. I keep seeing things that are talking about it coming out in February, so that's what I was assuming was true, but might be worth digging into the sourcing on that.
I mean, we got a trailer for it, but that was it.
Mhm.
Hey, let's do this now before we go. What do you guys think about all these movies? They announced the Grogu and Mandalorian movie. That's going to be a new one. They said that was different than the Dave Filoni directed movie. How do you guys feel about that? What are you expecting from it? And do you have any misgivings from that film? And then, of course, they haven't canceled any of the other ones either. So, how are we feeling about the movies themselves? I'll start with you, Taylor, since you're the least invested in these movies to date. So, what do you think?
Well, the one thing I'm excited about is that I have watched all the shows related to it, so at the very least, I won't have a lot of content to catch up on. I think, I don't know if anyone necessarily asked for it. I think it's odd that we're getting a movie and not a TV show, because at the end of season 3 of Mando, it sort of seemed like Grogu and Mando, there we go, we're about to head off and start sort of like the episodic adventures like we saw in the first
Yeah.
season, or at least that's the feeling I got. So to
100%.
all of a sudden feel like there's a movie coming out, I don't know. I do love Jon Favreau's work, so I'm cautiously optimistic. But yeah, I'm just sort of like, interesting. Like I don't know what was behind that decision.
I think it's money.
Well,
First and foremost.
Yeah.
Like honestly, that's my concern. Is it seems like It's the low risk proposition. It's the thing that seems like the easiest to get done quickly. It's basically
Well,
just like
and
make another season of Mandalorian and throw an extra $100 million at it.
right,
I
they're
don't know.
getting it's obviously gonna get a theatrical release. And was Mando the show where one of the episodes, or was that Ahsoka where an episode came out in theaters? Okay,
It's
yeah.
Ahsoka.
So like they experimented with putting out an episode of a show in theaters, and I mean, I think that was very interesting, but they obviously can't do that for a whole show. So absolutely putting a movie in cinema is going to get them a lot of money.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, your point about Favreau is well taken. I like a lot of his movies. I mean, even like Chef and some of the other, like I haven't seen all of his stuff.
Elf.
I'm not trying to act like it, but yeah, Elf. Yep, exactly a classic. So man's got
Iron-
chops. It'll be interesting. Yeah, Iron Man.
I can't get past the
definitely.
first Iron Man. I was going to say I've been a fan since.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. It'll be intriguing. There's no doubt. I'm more excited for the James Mangold, the Dawn of the Jedi one, honestly. But that's another thing. It's like we just don't. I want new stuff, and I don't know if they're gonna connect or not. But it's gonna be interesting. Andy, what are you thinking about this whole debacle? Are you excited for the Grogu Mandalorian movie or no?
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think I've said before that Mandalorian season 1 kind of got my first like hooks into Star Wars uniquely
Mhm.
for in this group. I wasn't super in love with Mando season 3, but I mean, I'm victim to the Grogu capitalism. I love him. I want him. I'll buy him. I am going to go watch that movie in theaters, and I have a feeling that I'm going to have fun. It'll be my first time seeing a Star Wars movie in theater that's not a re-release. I saw Return of the Jedi last year, but I didn't get to see the sequels live or anything like that. So I'm just excited and hopeful, optimistic, I guess.
Heck yeah.
8
Michael, do you
viewers,
have any-
hello.
Look at us, man. 2024 is the year of the come up. All right. Straight to the moon, boys. All right. Michael, do you have any quick thoughts about that one before we run through the rest of the
Do I have
rest of
any
the
quick
list?
thoughts?
Mm,
Silly question.
Hey, 2024, new year, new you, right?
No.
moving on.
I agree with Taylor. I don't know who asked for this movie, but you.
I think it was me.
no,
I asked you what you thought.
So it's interesting. I agree. Mando season 3 seemed like a nice tied off bow. Okay, great. We're done with these characters. We started hearing about this Mandoverse thing, and I'm very confused about all of this because it's like I still hear people saying we're going to get a season 4 of Mando, which we don't really need, but I mean, it could be fine. But then we're also getting this movie that's a Mando movie, which doesn't sound like it's in place of season 4, but might be. It doesn't. We're still getting this other Mandoverse movie, which would presumably have Mando in it. So it really seems like they're not done with Mando, but it's just very odd. And why was this movie announced not at Celebration and just like on a random post, like out of nowhere? It's very, very strange. Now, just like I was saying before with the movies and things standing on their own, usually I like it when series, unless there's a very particular arc that clearly needs multiple series to take, or multiple seasons, I like it when a series ends each season as though the show is not going to get any more content. That way,
Yep.
when a new season comes out, it can stand alone, it can reference it or not. If the show just ends, nothing's more frustrating than seeing a show that gets canceled that you were actually like invested in, and the season ends on a cliffhanger and you're like, there is never anything else. So I appreciate them tying it off, even if they plan to do it. It's just the messaging about the fact that they seem to be really trying to play their cards, and I think Ed's right. I think it's a money thing, even though they've made some really weird decisions with Mando concerning money, like, making a show about a character that doesn't take his helmet off, and then like having a hard time keeping the main actor because, they never show his face. And even seeming like they're going to fix that problem and then kind of unfix it and be like, nah, he's going to keep his helmet on forever again. Or like not announcing the name or the existence of a cute, cuddly collectible item that until after the show releases, so no one can buy this thing and everyone's scrambling and they like failed to create, I don't know, the hype. They created hype, but they didn't
Ah.
deliver on this thing. Like, there's this really weird thing where if money is all they cared about, they made some really poor decisions when it came to Mando. So I don't know.
Right. Look,
I've said this
the thing-
before.
No, go ahead.
I don't necessarily want it to become this, but I think I want Bo-Katan
No
to
quick
have her own
thoughts, Ed.
series.
Bars, period.
What happened? What
Oh,
did
I
Taylor
was
say?
agreeing.
I said no quick thoughts, Ed.
I told you. I want a Bo-Katan series. I may be biased because I like Battlestar Galactica and Katie Sackhoff is awesome. But I agree with people that are like she doesn't need to hijack the Mandalorian series. They need to let that go and give her own series if that's what they're going to do. It's not necessary, but yeah, I don't know. And then there's that Rey movie that like may or may not be shelved that people are butthurt about, but like again,
That's not
it's
shelved.
just-
That was.
I
that's
know.
Just,
there's just
I'm telling
weird
you, man.
reporting
I'm
out there.
telling you. Until it comes out, you're gonna get semi-frequent articles saying that movie is shelved or canceled. Just like
Yeah.
I, as a Washington Commanders fan, see semi-frequent articles saying they're gonna bring the name back because there's a new lawsuit. No, it's like, no, just stop. Just because you want it to happen doesn't
Yeah.
mean it will. Like, stop it.
But-
You rage.
And
into
I
the
mentioned
void.
this. I mentioned this in the Discord chat though that some of the reporting I'd seen was that randomly that Lucas was upset about this somehow. I don't know. I feel like anytime anybody mentions Lucas actually being involved in Star Wars, I kind of just stop paying attention. But this one was kind of funny because they said he was upset because Disney had barred the story from including original trilogy characters specifically. They were like, there will be no cameos. There will be no references. There may be very, distant mentions, but that's it. There's no Vader. There's no Vader helmet. There's no Force Ghost. If anything, they're just, Rey is going to be doing her own thing. And that could be a step in the right direction. I mentioned I could care less about Rey as the character specifically. I would hope that they can make me care more about her specifically. But up to now, I don't really care. But
No
yeah, it could be a good thing.
references except for the fact that she's Rey Skywalker.
Yeah, right. Except for the fact that she's Rey Skywalker / Palpatine. They're
Dude,
probably going to be like, it's just Rey.
My BS meter, not for anything you're saying, but just that article is blaring. Like, like you said, any name drops of George Lucas is usually just like, George Lucas has staged a secret coup to get Kathleen Kennedy away from Star Wars, and Bob Iger begged him to take it back. It's like, come on, man. Golly. Again, Lucasfilm has a just piss poor track record of actually releasing movies. Remember, there's a whole Rian Johnson trilogy. There was Benioff and Weiss, Kevin Feige. Like, apparently we're still getting Taika Waititi's movie, supposedly. I don't know. So, like, they could totally cancel it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that this one couldn't.
Oh, Rian Johnson's still out there too, Ed. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, for
Rogue
sure,
Squadron.
right? Like, they say Rogue Squadron. Exactly.
Please. What that
like,
movie?
So they could totally cancel
Spaceships,
this, but-
right? Spaceships.
But they're not going to cancel it because, women or Rey or George Lucas or whatever. It's just come on. Let's use our money brains and think about this here for a little bit. Anyway, until I get worked up over the internet. Yeah, right.
You and me both, girl.
All right.
Nice.
This is when I direct the conversation. That was fun. Thank you, Michael. Very good, quick thoughts. I appreciate that.
As
You can always count on me.
Said no one.
The other stuff that's coming. The other stuff that's coming though are these other these other very spread apart chronologically films. They're the ones that were announced with fanfare. You had the Dawn of the Jedi, James Mangold movie, set like 25,000 years ago or something like that, about the first Jedi. I think it's kind of a retrofit of the Benioff and Weiss story. And then you have the ones involving Rey, or one involving Rey so far. I'm sure it'll spawn 17 spinoffs. But yeah, it's very interesting because initially I thought they're all over the place, but seeing what they're doing with Ahsoka, with the ones and, kind of the Mortis gods and stuff, you wonder if it will tie together in some way. And the biggest thing, this is what I need from Lucasfilm is like, take the time that you need. Clearly there's content you can put out in the meantime. Just get something you feel confident in and put it out, and do not care what, like, obviously if it bombs, like everybody hates it, maybe course correct, but like you've got to be able to stand on your art and put it out and have confidence in it, because if it does another episode 8 Rise of Skywalker up down change course correction, it's just, I don't think I've got another one of those in me, you know. I don't think I can do it, and I think a lot of the fandom is in agreement with that. It's just like, make a plan and stick with it, because yeah, like you all have said so much tonight, if you try to appease every single person and, you know, focus group the thing to hell, it's gonna be this soulless corporate tripe that comes out, and it's what kind of what we've been getting a little bit. And, you know, I really would love it to be content that really is, you know, like someone said, art. I think who said that? Was it
Me.
Taylor or
Me, because I'm
Andy?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, we're all so smart. I can't remember who came up with the most recent smartness. So yeah, no.
If it was art,
props
it wasn't
to you,
me.
Andy. Aw, you're too harsh to yourself there, Taylor. All right. That's about all we got here. You know, final thoughts for anybody. Let's go around the table here. This has been a heck of a ride. We got we had like 8 people stop by. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great year, man. 2024 started off right. Join us for the book club. Download Bane. We're reading the first Bane, okay? And then we're going to do Dark Disciple. We get romance, Sith, passion, energy, excitement.
Tension.
Exactly. All right, final thoughts for anybody? Anybody have anything to say, or you want to just get the hell out of here?
I got nothing.
All right, no more quick thoughts?
Later.
Hey, is that... All right, we
Michael.
appreciate the heck out of everybody. Have a great one, and we'll see you later. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Smash the like button. Do all the YouTube stuff. We appreciate it, you know? Seriously. 2024 is the year, you know? 2024 is the year. For me, for you, for all of us. We're on the way up. We're up next. Appreciate you. Leave us a comment. We'll see you next time.